The adopted daughter offended someone at the bar, yet my parents sent me over to take the blame. Jenny's parents are gone, we can't just stand by and watch her get bullied, we'll make it up to you when you get back. But I was directly sold abroad, and died with my organs hollowed out. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the family recognition banquet 5 years ago. This time, I will make them pay in blood. Jenny was originally my mother's niece. She lost both parents before she was even a year old, and my mother took her in, adding her to our family register. When we were 5 years old, we played hide-and-seek together. She urged me to hide inside a large truck parked by the roadside, then she watched as I was taken away by the truck. When I returned, it had already been 12 years, so what if you remember, I was only 5 years old that year. You say I deliberately harmed you, who would believe that? You have no idea how different our statuses are in this family. Let me help you see things clearly. No need to thank me. Jenny dragged me as she jumped into the swimming pool. The question of who to save first if both fall into the water at the same time. Everyone in the James family, without hesitation, chose Jenny, and I, not only had to struggle to climb up on my own, but was also slapped to the ground by my own brother. Jenny huddled in her mother's arms, crying softly, looking utterly terrified. She glanced at me timidly and cautiously, then, without a single word spoken, the whole family instantly understood that I had bullied her. They then lined up to condemn me one by one. In my previous life, after being beaten, I felt wronged and resentful. She caused me to be abducted for 12 years, and now she's harming me again. I publicly revealed the truth of what happened back then. I desperately explained that she was the one who had pulled me down just moments before. I cried until I was nearly out of breath, begging my family to believe me, but they looked at me as if I were a hysterical, lying lunatic. They don't care at all whether I'm innocent or in pain, they only care that my screaming and shouting has completely embarrassed the James family in front of the guests. So, they had the servants drag me into the storage room. They didn't even let me change out of my clothes, which were still dripping wet. They just locked me up like that to make me reflect. The next day, the whole family took Jenny to the amusement park to make up for the grievances she suffered because of me. When they came back in the evening and remembered to let me out of the storage room, I was already running a high fever that had developed into pneumonia and was unconscious. I thought it was my 12 years of absence that had distanced my family from me. I tried hard to get closer to them, hoping to earn their care and trust, but in the end, Jenny offended someone at the bar that the James family couldn't afford to cross. They sent me over to take the blame. Bob Duncan felt that James's family was brushing him off, so he made an example of me to warn the others. I was sold abroad, endured endless torment, and in the end, my organs were harvested. When James's family sent me away, I cried my heart out. I asked them why is it my fault to bear when it's not my mistake? They say Jenny is pitiful, her parents are gone, we can't just stand by and watch her get bullied. Sherry, be more sensible. After this is over, Mom, Dad, and your brothers will definitely side with you on everything. We'll buy you anything you want. Okay, you're the older sister. What's wrong with helping your little sister? You're almost 20 years old. Can't you be a little more sensible? Yes, I was not even 20 years old when I died. Bob Duncan is not someone easily fooled. After my death, he did not let go of Jenny either. At this point, James's family did not back down. No longer felt that Bob Duncan was the untouchable local tyrant of the James family. They staked their entire fortunes, armed with a do-or-die resolve, and stood firm against Bob Duncan. In the end, they successfully obtained Bob Duncan's criminal evidence, sending Bob Duncan to court where he was sentenced to death. During the interview, they made no mention of Jenny causing trouble at the bar and offending Bob Duncan first. They didn't mention how, to protect Jenny, they willingly offered their own biological daughter, me, to Bob Duncan as an apology, leading to my tragic death. They wept and sobbed before the reporters' cameras. That devil killed my daughter. Even if it costs our entire family's lives, we must seek justice for my precious daughter. Moved by sympathy and touched by the James family's deep regard for blood ties, the public strongly supported the James family's enterprises. In 3 years, the James family rose from a second-tier clan to become a top-tier wealthy family in Y City, a pack of beasts who would sell their own daughters for glory, stepping on my bones and blood to find their happiness. I was reborn on the very day of the family reunion banquet. The moment I opened my eyes, my own brother slapped me across the face. Those standing before me, glaring at me with furious condemnation, were no longer my family. Sherry, why did you push Jenny into the water? I looked at the faces before me, each one I loathed to the core, and smiled. Of course. It's because I wanted her dead. What nonsense are you saying? How can someone so young be so malicious? I'm vicious. then your James family must be very kind. You're so kind that when the adopted daughter and the biological daughter both fell into the water, you only saved the adopted one, and when the biological daughter didn't drown, you still had to slap her. You're so kind that the adopted daughter is decked out in a full set of sparkling jewelry, while the biological daughter has nothing on her. So at the homecoming banquet for the biological daughter who was abducted and sold over a decade ago, they dressed the adopted daughter in a custom-made gown worth hundreds of thousands, while making the biological daughter wear the adopted daughter's discarded rags. Who in the world could match the kindness of your James family? Jenny is my mother's biological niece, and she does bear some resemblance to her. Plus, she's only a month younger than me, so in my previous life, the James family always told everyone she and I were twins, only when forcing me to be generous would they say, "You're older than Jenny, you're the older sister, what's wrong with letting your younger sister have her way?" They always said in front of me, "Jenny doesn't have her own parents to love her, don't bully her," as if I, Jenny, were the one responsible for her losing her biological parents, as if her suffering could only be repaid with my life. Why, James's family never dreamed that I would shout in front of everyone that Jenny was an adopted daughter. Even Jenny acted as if she had just learned the news, widening her eyes and nearly fainting. I had no time to pay attention to that family's drama, so I walked toward the living room, holding up my dripping dress. As I passed by the few important figures whom even Wilson James had to bow and scrape to, I made sure to sneeze loudly. I even deliberately shook my skirt, splattering water from my hair and dress all over them. I strode up to the second floor of James's house. In my previous life, I had always lived in the storage room next to the nanny's quarters on the first floor. Because I was malicious, selfish, and immature, I always bullied Jenny, so they would always confine me, punishing me by making me reflect in the storage room. In the end, that storage room, smaller than the nanny's quarters and without even a window, became my room. I lived there for nearly 3 years, until the day I died. I never had a real room in that house. I entered Jenny's room, locked the door from the inside, and quickly took a hot shower. She took out a new piece of clothing with the tag still attached from her walk-in closet and changed into it. In my past life, I never once set foot in Jenny's room. It wasn't that I wasn't curious, I just didn't dare. I was afraid James's family would condemn or mock me for it, even more afraid that the scenes inside would shatter my heart into pieces. This time, I must open my eyes wide and see clearly that soft, spacious princess bed, the walk-in closet, larger than my entire room, yet still packed to the brim, jewelry filling an entire cabinet. See clearly how happy and blissful she has been living with my family in my home these past 12 years. I heard the sound of someone outside trying to open the door, but they couldn't get it open. Jenny said something in a tearful voice and was coaxed away by someone. I know James's family is being so agreeable now, simply because the guests are still here. Once they leave, it'll be the end of me, since no matter what I do, they think I'm embarrassing and believe I'm bullying Jenny. Then that means I can do anything I want. I found a pair of scissors in Jenny's dresser drawer. The scissors used by a princess are all studded with tiny diamonds. So beautiful. I took the scissors to the dressing room, starting with those luxurious gowns still bearing their price tags. One by one, everything was cut to shreds. At midnight, a loud bang echoed from outside the door. Someone was kicking it. Sherry, I'm counting to 3. If you don't open this door, don't blame me for disregarding our sibling bond. Look, this is the true face of James's family. I stood behind the door, waiting for Jack James to count out that 3, then suddenly pulled the door open. Jack James used all his might to kick the door but ended up kicking nothing but air. He ended up doing a full split right there in the doorway, forced into a perfect straddle. Rip, crack, 2 crisp sounds, 1 sharp scream. Jack James' pants split. His ligament snapped, and he let out a pained shriek. The James parents, who had been coldly watching their eldest son come to teach me a lesson, both rushed over. Jack, what's wrong with you? They struggled to lift the fallen Jack James from the ground. At the same time, their eyes blazed with fury as they glared at me. That look in their eyes wasn't just accusation, it was pure hatred. In my past life, how could I have been so blind not to see it? I imitated Jenny's manner and rubbed my eyes until they turned red. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. My brother came to apologize to me, but he took too big a step. Jack James, suffering from the pain of a torn ligament, was flushed and sweating profusely. Too proud to lose face, he gritted his teeth and refused to cry out. Yet, upon hearing my words, he managed to squeeze out a sentence through clenched teeth. Why should I apologize to you? What kind of dream are you having? Huh, Big Brother isn't here to apologize. Well, that makes things easier. With that, I took a step forward, I swung my arm wide and slapped Jack James across the face. Now we're even, no apologies needed from either of us. A blow to the child is a pain in the mother's heart. Kathy pushed me away. Sherry, what's gotten into you? When my brother hit me by the pool this afternoon, you all seemed pretty quiet. I thought this was how the James family greets each other. Did I get it wrong? Wilson James pointed at me, his hand trembling. You've gone completely out of line. Jenny ran over and held onto Jack James' arm, crying as if her parents had died. Jack James forced out an extremely ugly smile to comfort her, reached out to wipe away her tears. Jenny, don't cry, Big Brother is fine. I couldn't help but clutch my chest. Ugh, Kathy reached out to slap me, but I swiftly grabbed her wrist. Mrs. James, if you're going to hit me, at least give me a reason. Is it only allowed for your family to disgust others, but not for people to vomit? Do I get hit for throwing up too? Sherry, why on earth are you tormenting the family like this? What have we done to wrong you? Do you have to stir up trouble until the whole household is in chaos? Mrs. James, why don't you start by telling me where you've been worthy of me? I carried you for 10 months and gave birth to you. I am your mother. Yes, you carried me for 10 months and gave birth to me, yet you sided with others to bully me. You favor others and mistreat me, for the sake of your niece. You personally handed me over to the devil, leaving me to die without a proper burial. Neza cut off his flesh and bones to return them to his parents, but I was drained of my blood and had my innards hollowed out. I've paid back my debts in full. Mrs. James does love to joke. What mother in this world could be so cruel to her own flesh and blood? Everything she wears and uses are just the cast-offs her adopted sister didn't want. Even maternal love is just the dregs she chewed up and spat out. I don't believe it. I must have been adopted. Kathy took half a step back, looking as if I had struck her a devastating blow. Her lips trembled, tears falling like pearls. James's family loves to put on a show. James's family's tears are worthless otherwise. In my past life, when they packed me off and sent me to Bob Duncan, I cried until my throat was raw and bloody. So why didn't they show any reaction at all? Only Jenny's tears are valuable. Her teardrops are worth more than my Sherry's life, so I reached out to wipe Jenny's face. Look how pitifully my dear little sister is crying. My heart aches for her. You all are so thoughtless. Can't you see how my Jenny's sister is crying? Hurry up and comfort her. What are you all doing? How can you have the nerve to call yourselves parents? Enough, Wilson James shouted angrily. Take Jack to the hospital first. Jenny hurried to the cloakroom, wanting to change her clothes and go along, but after walking in, she let out a scream. What's wrong? Jack James, whose legs hurt so much he could barely stand, was just left behind by his own parents like that. Both of them rushed in to protect the screaming Jenny. I watched Jack James gritting his teeth, leaning against the wall to barely support himself, and couldn't help but flash a gloating, mocking smile. Tisk, so you're an orphan too? Jack James suddenly looked up, staring at me in disbelief. It was as if I had said something utterly shocking, something he couldn't bring himself to accept. An angry question came from inside. Sherry, was it you? Why on earth would you do that? Because I'm jealous, of course. James's whole family is convinced I'm jealous of Jenny, while scolding me for being petty and jealous of her, while feeling justified in favoring her and treating me harshly. Yes, I am indeed jealous of her. My family treats her like a treasure and discards me like worn-out shoes. Isn't it perfectly normal for me to be jealous? In my past life, though I was jealous, I never dared to act on it, yet I was still wrongfully accused, maliciously speculated about, repeatedly judged, and thrown out to take the blame. So this time, I've decided, whenever they make me jealous, I'll have to do something to vent my feelings. They don't care about my feelings, so why should I care about theirs? How dare you say that? If you have the nerve to do it, why shouldn't I have the nerve to say it? When siblings in a family are at odds, it's often the parents stirring up trouble. Mr. James doesn't Mrs. James understand such a simple principle. Your biological daughter has been home for half a month, and she doesn't have a single decent outfit to wear out in public. When guests fill the house, she can only pick through the cast-off clothes your adopted daughter doesn't want. But when I opened her closet, I saw so many new clothes with the tags still on. Of course I would be jealous. Did I do something wrong? Then you can't just, I can. If you can do it on the first day of the month, I can do it on the 15th. Who says we're family? We're all a bunch of no-good scoundrels. Oh my, look at all these jewels and accessories. I've never seen so many before. I'm absolutely green with envy. I walked over to Jenny's jewelry cabinet, directly take out the most luxurious diamond necklace inside, with a single pull of both hands. It was torn apart. Stop it. Jenny didn't care about her clothes anymore. Crying and shouting as she rushed forward to snatch the item from my hands, I threw the broken diamond necklace at her and pulled out a large pink conch pearl pendant. With a single tug, it came off. Wilson James picked up a vase and threw it at me. Stop it right now. I grabbed Jenny and pulled her in front of me. The vase didn't shatter when it hit her chest, but it splattered her face and clothes with petals and water. Mr. James, don't be in such a hurry. If you can't treat everyone fairly, don't expect peace in the household, then inevitably, one person will suffer. In silence, bearing all the grievances, as you can see, I'm not the kind of coward who just takes it lying down. I suggest you find someone else to pick on. With that, I pushed over Jenny's jewelry cabinet. A cabinet full of expensive, exquisite jewelry crashed to the floor along with shards of broken glass. They were all so heartbroken they could barely contain their rage. How interesting. It's not like it can't be used if I pick it up. Even if I tear it, it can be fixed. What are they so heartbroken about? It seems as long as the one being wronged or hurt isn't me, they'll always feel heartbroken. How amusing. As soon as I turned around, I saw Jack James staring at me with reddened eyes. It's a good thing he's in too much pain to move right now, otherwise he would have already lunged at me and torn me to pieces. No matter, there's no need for him to make another appearance and act it out himself, just how ruthless he can be. I know all too well in my heart, Mr. James and Mrs. James. Would you be so kind as to prepare a proper, livable room for your own daughter? Me, I don't like the storage room next to the servants' quarters, and I won't set foot in there again. Until then, I'll go to a hotel. I pulled the pink diamond necklace Jenny was wearing tonight from her neck. Use this to pay. Wilson James, of course. He couldn't bear to see me sell such an expensive diamond for a pittance. He immediately took out a card. Here, take this. It has no password. Buy whatever you need yourself, and stop buying your sister's things all the time. Wow, James is so generous. I'm truly overwhelmed with gratitude. I've never seen a black card like this in my life. It must be able to buy a lot, right? If only you'd been this generous from the start. Don't make me envy an adopted daughter. Why would I go out of my way to cause you so much trouble? I took the card and left, while behind me, Kathy was still holding on to Jenny, wailing and cursing. She says I'm a debt collector, that she owed me from her past life. If I hadn't already walked far away, I would have loved to applaud her right to her face. Everything she said is absolutely right. She really did owe me from her past life, so in this life, I've come to collect my debt. Used the black card to book a presidential suite for myself for half a month, spending over $400,000 in one go. The hotel staff, seeing that I was still a minor, didn't dare to swipe the card recklessly, so I had to call the cardholder, the Jenny who buys haute couture gowns and diamond jewelry without batting an eye. Wilson James, hearing the over $400,000 in accommodation fees, he couldn't help but take a sharp breath. It was just that, in front of the hotel front desk, he couldn't make a scene. Suppressing his temper, he spoke gently. Sherry, you only need to stay for a week. Dad promises, your room will be fully set up within a week. I held the phone and shouted excitedly at the hotel front desk. Really, in a week, I won't have to live in the storage room next to the servants anymore. That's wonderful, Dad. Thank you so much. I'm so touched. You're truly the best dad in the world. In the heat of the moment, I even shed a few tears. At the hotel front desk, under the stunned and deeply sympathetic gazes of the staff, she checked into the presidential suite for a week. Behind her, the young women at the front desk whispered among themselves, so she really is the daughter of the James family, the one who made the news, kidnapped for 12 years and just found. Goodness, James' family was so emotional in the news. I thought they really loved this daughter, yet it's been over half a month since she returned, and she still doesn't even have a proper room. Is the James family going bankrupt, making their own daughter live in a storage room? I entered the room and collapsed onto the large bed in the suite, living this luxuriously for the first time in 2 lifetimes. The next day, I got up bright and early and arrived at the ZY Group office building. I want to see their group president Bruce Green, without an appointment. As a minor girl, of course I couldn't get in to see anyone, so I simply plopped down on the floor right there, throwing a tantrum and making a scene. I am the biological daughter of Wilson James, chairman of the YY Group. I demand to see your CEO. If I don't get to see him, I'll die right here. The security guards and receptionists in the lobby had never witnessed such a scene before. They were dumbfounded and secretly picked up their phones to start recording, so I performed with even more gusto. Embarrassing. James' family is one of life's great pleasures. Bruce Green was one of the people I splashed with water that night at the family recognition banquet. Wilson. James bowed and scraped before him, yet they were fierce competitors. Mr. Green: hello, Miss James, what brings you to see me in person? My relationship with the James family is limited to some business dealings. We are not particularly close. The James family's private affairs are not something I should interfere with, Mr. Green. Rest assured, I'm not here to discuss the family affairs of the James family. It's about that piece of land on Tiger Mountain outside the 4th Ring Road. These days, urban land is truly as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Once a plot is sold, it's gone for good. Whenever a piece becomes available, everyone rushes at it like starving wolves pouncing on prey, knowing that securing it means a sure profit. The Tiger Mountain land plot covers an area of 1.2 million square meters. ZY Group intends to develop it into a high-end villa residential area. In the previous life, James' family rallied several groups of similar financial standing to compete against the Green family. In the end, they still lost to Bruce Green, yet the outcome was quite dramatic. That Tiger Mountain is not just a simple mound. It is a tomb. Beneath that mountain lies a Tang Dynasty tomb, the burial site of a third rank official. Was constructed like an underground miniature palace. The extraordinarily lavish burial goods inside were incredibly rich, stunning the archaeological community, and this ancient tomb was located right in the center of that plot of land. As a result, Bruce Green became an utterly and completely unlucky sucker. The entire project was suspended indefinitely, resulting in a total loss of all capital. Fortunately, the Green family has a substantial fortune. At worst, losing this project would only make them the butt of jokes for 20 years, not enough to bring them down completely. But if this project were to fall into the hands of the James family, that would be a whole different story. James always takes the unconventional path. To get a piece of land, you'll resort to any means, won't you? Are you even 18 years old? To be honest, Bruce Green's look of disdain actually gave me a comforting sense of finding a kindred spirit. Mr. Green has a keen eye. Wilson: James is indeed a beast who would sell his own daughter for glory, but you've misunderstood my purpose for coming here. I came to tell you, you cannot take that piece of land. Bruce Green couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. It seemed as if he felt his intelligence had been insulted by my clumsy negotiation skills. That Tiger Mountain is not a mountain, it's a massive tomb. Once excavated, it will cause a nationwide sensation. It's not that people have never seen such a wealthy tomb, but rather because the burial goods of the tomb's owner far exceed the norm. He was a massive corrupt official who, while alive, dared not indulge in excessive luxury, but took everything with him as burial goods after death. If you win the bid, no matter what you plan to build on it, construction must be suspended indefinitely. You probably know about archaeology. Digging up soil requires using a small brush to sweep it away bit by bit. Maybe by the time you pass away, you still won't see the day when the project resumes. Bruce Green: there are indeed tombs on the mountain, but they're just small tombs, and they've long been looted clean, with no value left for excavation or preservation. Since he wants this piece of land, he must have thoroughly investigated it. Wrong. What was stolen was nothing more than a decoy set up by the tomb owner, because the tomb owner knew that someone would try to rob his tomb in the future. He built a fake tomb chamber above the real one. The false tomb chamber also contained some burial goods, serving as a reward he left for tomb raiders. This was to protect his true burial goods and his own remains. Bruce Green finally grew serious. How do you know all this so clearly? In his past life, Wilson James deeply regretted missing out on this prime feng shui location. At home all day with a face as gloomy as a living king of hell. Later, ZY Group discovered issues underground and proactively reported them to the Cultural Relics Bureau. Initially thought to be a small tomb, but the more they dug, the bigger it got, and the entire project went cold. Wilson James is at home all day, beaming with delight and taking pleasure in others' misfortune. Holding my phone, I stared at the news about the Grand Tomb, sneering at Bruce Green for taking such a hard fall. That information was something I couldn't forget even if I tried, but I could hardly tell Bruce Green that I was reborn. You know, I was once kidnapped. I once lived in a small Taoist temple for 3 years. The abbot was my master. I learned a few things from my master that science can't explain. Bruce Green: he had a look of utter disbelief on his face, and I awkwardly picked at my fingers. This ghost story was indeed a bit too ghostly. Whether you believe me or not, you can take your time to consider, but please keep it to yourself and don't tell anyone else, including the James family. Especially the James family. Are you planning to turn against your own family for the sake of justice? I smiled. The glorious tradition of our James family is to show no mercy to anyone, even our own kin. Bruce Green remained silent for a long moment before squeezing out a sentence. You're someone who's meant for great things, great things. This is just the beginning. Wilson James actually kept his word this time. A week later, I was brought back to the James family home. A guest room at the end of the second-floor hallway was converted into my room, as expected. All the furnishings inside were indeed on par with Jenny's. As for your personal belongings, you have a card, go buy them yourself, so you don't end up disliking what we pick out. All right, thank you, James sir. How are you talking? Do you have to be so sarcastic? I'm your father. All right, Dad, as long as you remember I'm your daughter, I naturally won't forget you're my father. Wilson James was thoroughly enraged. Kathy let out a sigh, looking utterly helpless. Now that you're back, we should all get along well as a family from now on. If there's anything you're unhappy about, just say it. Don't lose your temper at the drop of a hat. All right, James, madam, I am dissatisfied with the household servants. They cook bird's nest for Jenny every night, but not for me, and even mock me for being unworthy. They are respectful to all of you, yet they order me around. They make a racket in front of me, refuse to pour me a glass of water, and even boss me around to do chores. Butler Jason, the kitchen's Jane, and Linda. These three are the ones leading the bullying against me. Tomorrow, I don't want to see them in this house anymore. Is that okay? I turned and went upstairs, while Kathy was still clutching Wilson James's arm, crying and complaining. Look at this child, just look at her. Is this any way to behave? None of those three were fired. Mrs. James's words were as useless as a fart. It was only after I smashed up the kitchen that I finally got to eat bird's nest soup, after I flipped the table once. There was finally no cilantro on the dining table. Bruce Green still participated in the bidding, but he revised the proposal and successfully lost the bid. James' family won the bid, and Wilson James was beaming with joy. Jack James was so busy with this matter that he hardly ever came home. In his previous life, he had so much time to protect Jenny, scold me, wrong me, and hit me. It's all because I had nothing better to do, so I could only go home and twiddle my thumbs. But what a shame, all his busyness now is just wasted effort. The higher you climb with the wind at your back, the harder you'll fall later. James' family transferred my student records over, and both Jenny and I are in our senior year of high school, in the same class. Before I even entered the class in my previous life, Jenny was already telling everyone that her twin sister was coming. Before I even made an appearance, she had already painted me as a sensitive, extreme, crazy, and bullying lunatic. She whimpered and stammered, leading her classmates to mistakenly believe I was bullying her at home. Then she pretended to be strong when others asked about it. No, how could my sister bully me? We're twins, after all. She just has some misunderstandings about me, I guess. Knowing full well that I detest her, she deliberately clings to me, pushing me to lose my temper. Then she sobs and whimpers, saying it's not my sister's fault, making all the classmates feel sorry for her and think I really am the problem. In the end, I was isolated by my classmates and collectively bullied by her close friends and admirers. They bullied me and even posted my embarrassing photos on the school website for everyone to laugh at, wishing they could force me to die. This time, I didn't just say my name during the self-introduction. Hello everyone, my name is Sherry. I am the biological daughter of Jenny's adoptive parents. Please take care of me in the future. Jenny's adoptive parents, where did she get adoptive parents from? Weren't they twins? The students' gossipy spirits were burning fiercely. Not twins. I'm a month older than Jenny, so how could we be twins? In my past life, to cover up this fact, after finding me, the James family never celebrated a single birthday for me. They said it was to celebrate together with Jenny, but when that day actually came, they also said, "This is Jenny's birthday. Why are you causing trouble?" When people are shameless, they truly are shameless. So, was Jenny lying all along? She also said Sherry is emotionally unstable and bullies her at home. I think Sherry seems pretty normal. Jenny had been the center of attention since childhood and couldn't tolerate the slightest bit of injustice, especially being openly mocked as a liar by her own classmate. Before I could even reach my seat after introducing myself, she ran out of the classroom in tears. All the groundwork I painstakingly laid before has now come back to bite me. My classmates gathered around, bombarding me with all sorts of questions. I very patiently satisfied their curiosity. They even directed them to look up news online about me being found. Even the photos and videos from the family reunion banquet back then were dug up by them. Didn't Jenny say she always gave in to her sister at home? It looks like Sherry is the adopted one. She was all dolled up at someone else's family reunion banquet, making Sherry look like a maid next to her. I never would have guessed she was like that at home. That smug look in her eyes is really annoying. Sherry, you're really too patient. If it were me, I'd have slapped her twice by now. I looked at my indignant classmates and smiled helplessly. After all, she's not our biological child, and she's been sensitive since she was little. She always wants the best of everything, or else she starts overthinking and feeling like she's being mistreated. She also loves spreading rumors outside, making people think our family treats her poorly. I don't want to make things too difficult for my parents either. Giving in to her isn't a big deal. Come to think of it, she acts the same way at school, always crying at the drop of a hat. She even told us you're hard to get along with, that you bully her. We almost fell for her trick. It's alright, a lie is still a lie. It can't withstand the test. From now on, everyone can get to know me through their own interactions, not just from what others say about me. It wasn't until the second class that Jenny returned to the classroom with red, swollen eyes. No, her admirers will soon come to protect her. At noon after school, Jenny's childhood friend Simon Williams dragged me with 5 of his underlings to an alley behind the school store. This was a place where certain students at the school settled personal grudges. It was over 10 meters long but only 1 meter wide. The ground was filthy, littered with trash and sewage. The walls were stained with dried, blackened blood. These people had once turned my senior year of high school into a living hell. My academic performance used to be excellent, but because they wanted to be friends with me, they would occasionally come to chat with me. It made me live in fear every day, restless and anxious, dreading going to school. My college entrance exam score was less than 400 points. After being beaten by 5 boys for over 10 minutes, I lay on the ground, barely able to move. Simon Williams lifted his foot and stepped on my back. If you're not convinced, you can call your parents, you can report it to the teacher, but if you ever dare to bully Jenny again, I'll have another good chat with you. I left the school covered in filth and with blood all over my face, then collapsed at the entrance of the police station. I woke up in the hospital, and the police took me to get my injuries examined. Simon Williams, those guys knew how to throw a punch. They targeted the spots you wouldn't want others to see. But a doctor isn't just anyone. They gasped at the sight of the bruises covering my body as I took off my clothes, but this was nothing compared to the torment I endured after being sold abroad in my past life. These minor injuries weren't even an appetizer. After leaving the hospital, I returned to the alley where Simon Williams had beaten me and retrieved the camera I had hidden in advance. I exported the video from it and went to see Bruce Green again, this time, without resorting to tears, tantrums, or threats. I smoothly entered his office. Bruce Green looked at me, his eyes filled with scrutiny. Miss James, no tombs have been discovered at Tiger Mountain yet. Soon, you're quite confident. Mr. Green, I'm only informing you of the information and risks. The one who truly makes the decision is yourself, isn't it? Losing that piece of land would just mean your Green family misses out on a profit. But if you acquire it and end up taking a fall, the losses won't be small. You're right, but if it turns out there's no major tomb on that land, I won't let you off the hook. After all, no one enjoys being played for a fool, watching their rival bask in triumph. I nodded. Indeed, on this point, you and I are practically natural allies. I can't stand to see them laughing too brightly either. Bruce Green, you'd better be, then, as an ally. May I ask you for one thing? I handed over the phone. Inside was the entire process of Simon Williams bringing people to have a chat with me. The Williams family and the James family have many collaborations. For this Tiger Mountain project, these two families hold the majority stake. Simon Williams is Jenny's lapdog. If nothing unexpected happens, these two will likely marry in the future. In their previous life, their wedding was so grand it made the news. Bruce Green watched the video with an expressionless face. Miss James is quite the schemer. Did you know in advance what was going to happen, so you prepared a camera to fight back? I looked at him and asked, word by word, what's wrong with fighting back? Am I supposed to just lie down and wait to die? As soon as I finished speaking, my cheek felt a chill. I raised my hand to wipe it. It was a little damp. How ridiculous. Bruce Green isn't anyone to me. Why should I feel wronged in front of him? He was taken aback for a moment. I'm sorry. You're not wrong. I misspoke. If someone bullies you, you should find a way to fight back. You're very clever. This video, how do you plan to use it? I have no intention of playing house with Simon Williams in a half-hearted manner. I believe Mr. Green will, at the appropriate time, allow it to realize its greatest value. You won't let me take a beating for nothing, right? Here are the injury assessment report and the police acknowledgement receipt. You can use these materials however you see fit, and you can use me as well. I only want the Williams family and the James family destroyed. At any cost. He looked at me, his expression complex, as if he wanted to say something but held back, ultimately remaining silent. All right, I understand. When I returned to school again, my face was still bruised, and I walked with a noticeable limp. What's wrong with you, desk mate? You didn't come to class yesterday. Were you in a car accident? No, Jenny had someone beat me up. I was in the hospital yesterday. The people nearby had been listening intently all along. Wendy heard this and immediately stood up, letting out a loud cry. Sherry, what nonsense are you talking? How can you tarnish Jenny's reputation like that? Wendy is Jenny's most loyal little sidekick in the class. With her shout, the whole class turned to look at me. Jenny also looked at me, wearing a face of bewildered confusion, eyes reddened, ready to shed tears at any moment. Simon Williams said it himself. Jenny asked him to beat me up to vent her anger, and also Carl, Leo, and the others, 6 of them in total. They said they were all Jenny's good brothers and wouldn't let me bully their Jenny's sister. Jenny, when did I ever bully you? My tears fell. Plop, plop. What exactly did you say in front of them, to make them treat me so harshly? Everyone in the whole school knows Jenny is the beloved little sister protected by Simon Williams and his group. In my past life, they spread rumors that I shamelessly seduced Simon Williams. They deliberately pushed me into Simon Williams' arms, took photos, and posted them on the campus website, saying I threw myself at him, knowing full well that Simon Williams and Jenny are a couple, yet still insisting on being the other woman. Sherry really has no shame. They knew those two were a match made in heaven, and they knew that offending Jenny would lead to retaliation from Simon Williams, so when I stated the facts, even if they wanted to argue, they couldn't refute it. Wendy struggled for a long time before finally blurting out, "That's still your own fault. Who told you to bully Jenny?" "I bullied her." "Jenny, did I bully you? I just came to school the day before yesterday, and all I did was introduce myself on stage. Just because I told everyone we're not twins, you want to have me beaten to death. But even if I die, you still won't become the biological child, will you?" Jenny was just about to cry and protest her innocence when the class bell rang. She could only sit alone in her seat, quietly weeping, while others could do nothing but watch helplessly, unable to offer any real comfort. The Williams family holds immense power. Those who bullied me only received a stern warning and a lecture from the police. Nothing more came of it. Even the school didn't publicly reprimand them. There's no need to apologize to me, nor to make a public self-criticism. It doesn't matter. What I wanted was never these useless things anyway. After the matter was resolved, Simon Williams came to flaunt his victory in front of me right away. "Did you think calling the police would help? What an ignorant fool. To deal with you, I have no need to hide anything. Last time they deliberately hit me in places covered by clothes, but this time he slapped me directly in the face. A dozen slaps. My cheeks were swollen and purplish red, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. He grabbed my hair, admiring his handiwork. "You can go show this face to anyone you want and complain. See if anyone can do a thing about me." He swaggered away. I picked up the phone I had hidden aside, edited the video, and sent it to Bruce Green. When I returned to the classroom, the whole class instantly fell silent. "Desk mate, I whispered through my tears, "it was Simon Williams who hit me. How could he do this? You should just call the police." "I called the police last time. It didn't help. His family is rich and powerful. The police can't touch him. It's always about standing up for Jenny. My parents won't care about me either. After all, he and Jenny are set to marry in the future. And the James family still relies on the Williams family for business. Your parents, how could they be like that?" "It's fine, I'm used to it." From that day on, the atmosphere in the class changed. Jenny, who was once the center of attention with everyone rushing to comfort her at the slightest tear, is now being collectively isolated by her classmates. After all, no one wants to accidentally upset her and risk being beaten up by Simon Williams like that. Jenny complained to Jack James, saying that I incited the other students to isolate her. To comfort her, Jack James had his secretary send gifts and snacks to Jenny. He even had to emphasize in front of me that it was specially for Jenny, and she was the only one who had it. I smashed 3 cakes in a row right into Jenny's Jenny's face, then I melted another kilogram of chocolate and poured it all over her. Jack James was severely scolded by Wilson James before he finally had to quiet down. Ever since returning from the business trip, he has been wearing a gloomy face, looking at me as if I were his father's murderer. I turned my face and asked Jenny, "What kind of rumors did you spread in front of Jack James that made him hate me so much?" Jenny shook her head desperately with red eyes, looking like a little rabbit. "No, I didn't." "Enough." Jack James gave me a cold look, then sneered with a twisted mouth. "Sherry, you've got some nerve, daring to bully Jenny right in front of me. Do you think I'm dead?" As he spoke, he reached out to grab my hair. This was his starting move for hitting someone. First, he'd grab the hair right at the scalp, then wildly slap and kick, leaving the victim with nowhere to escape. In my past life, he had done this to me countless times, but this time, as soon as he grabbed the part of my hair tied with a ponytail elastic, he let out a sharp scream. Letting go, 3 sewing needles were stuck in the palm of my hand. What a shame. I had prepared 5, but 2 of them slipped away. "Sherry, are you crazy? Why are you putting needles in your hair?" I looked innocent. "I didn't. How could I?" "Jenny, is that you? You want my life, don't you?" Jenny screamed. "No, it's not me. I didn't do it." Wilson James and Kathy returned from outside to find the house in complete chaos. I was fighting Jack James to the death, while Jenny was crying her eyes out on the side. Like some kind of atmosphere squad, Bruce Green took the initiative to contact me, which I hadn't expected. "Didn't you say there was a Tang Dynasty tomb at the foot of Tiger Mountain? How come they've been smoothly working for over 2 months without any signs of it?" "I actually forgot about that, so I took a moment to go check out the scene." Wow, Tiger Mountain was already half dug up. This definitely wasn't a thing in my past life. I immediately called 911. That night, the entire construction site was cordoned off with police tape. Every person involved in the construction was investigated. Hundreds of cultural relics were seized from the homes of those workers. There were also gold artifacts that had been melted into lumps, their original forms forever lost to history. When the archaeological experts arrived, they were heartbroken and publicly denounced the situation in the news. James's family knew nothing and pushed the construction team out, resulting in over a dozen people being sentenced at once. The investors collectively panicked. Simon Williams' father even stormed straight to James's house. "What on earth happened? Didn't you investigate? How could there be a large tomb? How dare you conceal such a massive burial site, and you didn't even manage to keep it hidden? What were you thinking? They want to build skyscrapers and shopping malls outside the 4th Ring Road. Since the mall belongs to the Williams family, they were pushed to the forefront of this controversy." Bruce Green released the video of Simon Williams leading people to beat me up, just as the entire internet was condemning the Williams family's project for damaging cultural relics. The mosaic was practically useless. Anyone familiar with those people could recognize them at a glance. "You can go complain to anyone with that face of yours. See who can do anything to me." The more arrogant the threats were back then, the more humiliating the exposure is now. On the hot search, Simon Williams' videos of him arrogantly bullying others are flying everywhere, but in reality, the person being beaten in the videos is actually me. Soon, the classmates who had once been bullied by Simon Williams' clique stepped forward. They shared their personal experiences one after another and presented even more evidence. Some had grown to hate school and dropped out because of their bullying. Some had been forced to transfer schools by Jenny's and Simon Williams' gang after offending them. Now, at last, the chance to seek justice has arrived. For a whole week, the Williams family has been trending on social news. The young one engaged in school bullying. The old one acted unethically despite their wealth. The Williams family's ancestors for 18 generations have nearly been cursed out by everyone. Their mall was boycotted by consumers and had to have Simon Williams step forward to film an apology video. Then they sent Simon Williams abroad overnight. Bruce Green, refreshed and invigorated after winning the battle, sent his secretary to deliver a property deed and a gift contract to me, a penthouse duplex, luxuriously furnished with a rooftop garden. It was originally Mr. Green's own house, fully furnished but never lived in for a single day. Mr. Green said if you don't like it, just tear out the renovations and redo them, he'll cover the cost. It was clear he was genuinely happy this time. No need to change it. I trust Mr. Green's taste. What's there to complain about a mansion that comes for free? It's not like I don't know what's good for me. James's family situation is far more severe than the Green family's last time. After all, they don't have the Green family's century-old foundation and can't withstand such a heavy blow. When the criticism came, the Williams father and son stood at the forefront, taking the brunt of the fire for them. but in terms of real financial losses, they were not much better off than the Williams family. Wilson James had half his hair turned white, and he even went so far as to beat up Jack James. However, it was all for nothing. James' family was shrouded in gloom and burdened with debt when I faced the college entrance exam. Not being able to get into college and leave this family in my past life has always been my regret, so this time, I studied with all my might. Without Simon Williams and his gang of lunatics bullying me, Jenny also couldn't turn the whole class against me. I didn't waste a single moment. In the end, I scored 684 points, while Jenny scored 377 points. Of course, there was no celebration for my academic advancement. Kathy looked at me and said earnestly, "It's enough that you did well yourself. Don't show off in front of your sister, she'll be upset." She immediately turned and went to hug Jenny to comfort her. "Don't worry, if you can't get into a good university here, we'll just go abroad. Mom won't abandon you, don't be sad." In my past life, they ignored the bullying I endured at school, and countless times, they praised Jenny in front of me for doing well on her exams, calling me a useless waste, a disgrace to the James family name. After the college entrance exams, they threw a grand banquet for Jenny. They locked me in my room, forbidding me to show my face, and never once mentioned sending me abroad. James, my family sent me to repeat a year, but I developed severe psychological issues and couldn't go to school. Every day, I shut myself in that storage room without even a window. They called me gloomy and accused me of putting on an act. What's the use of being jealous of Jenny? Was it us who didn't want to hold a celebration for your college admission, who didn't want to send you off to university? Why don't you take a look at your own grades? What right do you have to throw a tantrum at home over James? I was emaciated and mentally disoriented, yet they refused to take me to see a doctor. Their reason was, "It's too embarrassing. Endure for a moment, and your mammary glands will swell. Take a step back, and you'll sink into severe depression." This grudge I must avenge, so I cut up Jenny's new clothes again. Then I took her expensive jewelry and pawned it. Whether it's a loss or not, I don't care. Anyway, if it stays at home, it's all hers. Only by pawning it can it become my money. Jenny cried so hard she collapsed to the ground. Wilson James wanted to whip me with the family discipline rod. Jack James threatened me coldly with his phone, saying he would call the police. "Go ahead and call the police. Hurry up and report it. Let the whole world know that James's biological daughter is so desperate for money she's gone mad." She tried to sell her adopted sister's jewelry, and was sent to prison by her righteous parents and brother who turned her in. "Hurry up and call the police. What are you waiting for?" Wilson James looked so furious he could barely stand steady. "What on earth are you making a fuss about this time?" "Making a fuss? Of course, it's jealousy. How much are you planning to spend to send Jenny abroad for her studies? How much living allowance will you be sending her each month?" "I want as much as she has." "Do you really need that much money back home? Is it wrong that I do well in school? Is it wrong that I go to a public university and don't make you pay for a degree, because Jenny is unhappy? I can't even have a graduation celebration. If I scored 300 like her, would you all dote on me like that too?" "Of course we would." Kathy said this without a moment's hesitation, not even blushing. "So the reason you don't treat me like a human being now is because I'm too outstanding and scored too well, right? No wonder I've felt so out of place since coming home. It turns out you only like trash." Jenny never did end up studying abroad. James's family, after the Tiger Mountain incident, not only lost all their investments but also faced various compensations and fines. Now, the family fortune has shrunk by half. I insisted they give me the same amount they spent on Jenny, or I'd make a scene until they gave in. They weren't willing to pay that much. Jenny didn't want to attend a vocational college, so she had no choice but to repeat her final year of high school. Then, as if by fate, she met Bob Duncan. In the Bob Duncan family's bar, a woman accidentally bumped into Bob Duncan's arms, spilling wine all over him. She was then slapped to the ground by a bodyguard beside Bob Duncan. None of the 1,000 or so people in the entire bar dared to intervene. Only Jenny, puffing out her small chest with a face full of righteousness, rushed over. With a slap, she gave Bob Duncan a resounding slap across the face. After hitting someone, she still had the nerve to question others. "What gives you the right to bully people?" No one knew how an 18-year-old girl like her had the courage to slap a strange man in a chaotic bar. She probably read too many novels. She thought of herself as the kind of heroine who, relying on kindness and justice, could charge forward and leave both the underworld and legitimate society's big shots utterly captivated. Yet she was not bold enough to charge forward, because Bob Duncan turned his face, and with just one glance, he frightened her into turning pale and trembling all over. Coincidentally, Bob Duncan had not yet ordered to deal with her when the bar suddenly lost power. By the time the power was restored, Jenny and her friends had all run away, a group of people under 20 years old, and Bob Duncan aren't from the same world. Even if he got the surveillance footage, he wouldn't recognize any of them. Those people all looked like they were either wealthy or noble, with an air of extravagance, so he couldn't make too big a scene. He could only have his men search for them quietly. 3 days later, James's family asked me to take leave and come home. They said there was a bit of trouble at home and we needed to discuss and resolve it together. In my past life, they weren't this polite. I was simply dragged out of the house. They didn't even bother to deceive me, directly telling me I was going to take the fall for Jenny to vent someone's anger. Sure, that works. Tomorrow is Friday, so can I come back tomorrow evening? All right, we'll be waiting for you at home. After hanging up the phone, I contacted Bruce Green. Mr. Green, how about I offer you another opportunity? That evening, Bruce Green took the initiative to meet with Bob Duncan, bringing a photo of Jenny. I heard President Duncan has been looking for someone recently. I happen to know just the person. Bruce Green handed over the photo of Jenny along with her background information, getting straight to the point without any fuss. Bob Duncan merely glanced at the items on the table. He asked with a smile, "What can I do for Mr. Green? I've heard that President Duncan has a lot of influence in Southeast Asia. I have a shipment that's been stuck there for almost a month, unable to get through. It's really been bothering me. Could I trouble President Duncan to put in a word, whether it works out or not?" Bruce Green will owe you a favor. Piece of cake. Bruce Green and Bob Duncan weren't cut from the same cloth, and he didn't necessarily have to ask Bob Duncan for help. It's just that Bob Duncan was a man with a ruthless hand and a meticulous mind, and he definitely wouldn't take kindly to someone offering favors for no reason. It was better to have a give and take, a clear exchange of goods for money, so that neither would owe the other anything in the future. That was more likely to earn his trust. Leaving Bob Duncan's office, Bruce Green was drenched in sweat down his back. The next day, Jenny disappeared. When I returned home, I was met by a group of people anxiously pacing in circles. James's family was still hesitating about whether to report it to the police when they received an email. The Jenny in the email had her face smashed, her hands chopped off, and her organs hollowed out. After the video ended, that email vanished eerily, leaving no trace. At this point, it had been less than 3 hours since Jenny went missing. Kathy was so terrified she collapsed on the spot. Jenny, what on earth did she do? How could she offend such a devil? Will we be retaliated against? James's family can't take any more trouble. After they had cried enough and calmed down, I asked, "You called me back. What was it you wanted to discuss with me?" Wilson, James and Kathy looked stiff. "Nothing. The matter has been resolved. You can go back to school." "Oh, that's good then." They were scared out of their wits, completely unwilling to have any contact with Bob Duncan. It took a week before they went to the police station to report Jenny as a missing person. A year later, Bob Duncan was arrested for involvement in organized crime, drug trafficking, and human trafficking, and was directly sentenced to death. Bruce Green came to the school to find me and invited me to dinner. "All the credit is yours, but all the glory is mine. I feel a bit embarrassed about it." He made significant contributions in assisting the police with the investigation and pursuit of Bob Duncan. The amount of drugs successfully intercepted alone amounted to thousands of kilograms. He also helped the police successfully intercept Bob Duncan's ship before it could escape into international waters, and all that information, of course, was provided by me. Just say the master taught well. The country, fearing he might be targeted by any remaining threats seeking revenge, did not publicly celebrate his achievements. They simply provided convenience for his business. He secured several national projects and found a solid, reliable backer. It's just a fair trade, Mr. Green. No need to feel embarrassed. By now, the James and Williams families were already far from their former glory, but this was far from enough. I helped Bruce Green so much, and my only demand was to leave the James and Williams families with nothing. For the current Bruce Green, this is merely a matter of lifting a finger. Acquiring those two companies would bring him nothing but benefits. Simon Williams got caught up in a local gang war abroad and was shot with a full magazine. Chairman Williams fled with his mistress and illegitimate child, leaving his legal wife with over $2 billion in massive debt, intercepted by his wife's car and killed on the spot. James, on the day James's family was driven out of that luxurious villa, I made a special trip back to watch the spectacle. "Sherry, you have money, don't you? Take it out and help your father. I can definitely make a comeback." "Why should I help you? I spent so much time making sure you ended up with nothing. Helping you make a comeback would mean all my efforts were in vain. What did you say? I said. James' family's current state is all because of me. I always knew Tiger Mountain was untouchable, so I went to see Bruce Green and persuaded him to give it up. Bruce Green thus owes me a favor and promised to leave your James family with nothing, of course. There were many things that happened in between, but there's no need to go into detail with them. Mr. Green is indeed a man of his word. I couldn't be more satisfied with your downfall today. Wilson James roared out. Sherry, we are your parents. Kathy wept bitterly. Don't you have even a shred of affection for this family, for your own flesh and blood? Jack James's eyes were bloodshot, his hands trembling, as if he wanted nothing more than to tear me apart. How can you be so heartless? Why would you do this to us? I'm cold-blooded. I learned it all from you. You treat me how you treat me, and I treat you the same way. Is that wrong? You always loved locking me in the storage room to make me reflect. From now on, you'll have to live in a tiny room too, spending the rest of your lives reflecting. Why have you fallen to this point? Why must your own daughter make you suffer and endure hardship, leaving you with nothing? Why must you face such retribution? Ahaha. I truly am your own flesh and blood. I've also discovered the joy of making people reflect on themselves. Just thinking about it makes me happy. Jack James wants to hit me again, but his cars have all been repossessed by the bank, so he can't catch up to me. I never contacted Bruce Green again, nor did I keep up with James' family. The time that overlapped with my past life has long since passed. I no longer have the advantage of foresight. Every day now is my first life. I cherish being alive and will live it well. In the second year after graduation, Bruce Green reached out to me. Mr. James passed away yesterday after a serious illness. If you want to see him one last time, I can give you the address of the funeral home. Jack James is addicted to gambling. Mrs. James is now washing dishes in the hotel kitchen. They are living very poorly. If you want to forgive them, I can help. He probably thinks James' family has reached such a state by now, already miserable enough to atone for their sins. Probably also thinks I am too cold-blooded and cruel toward James' family, but I don't care about his opinion. I thought of my past life, lying on the cold operating table, having my organs carved out while still alive. At that time, all I could think about was my mom and dad. Why don't mom and dad love me? Why do mom and dad want to harm me? Why should I end up like this? I have no right to forgive anyone on behalf of my past self. The one who had the right to forgive them is already dead. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, I thought I would finally bid farewell to the hardships of the past, but instead, I stepped one foot into hell, meeting a tragic end. My adopted sister tormented me relentlessly, my own brother despised me to the core, and even my parents were utterly disappointed in me. I accidentally stumbled upon the illicit affair between this pair of unrelated siblings, which directly led to my body being sunk into the sea. After being reborn, I no longer live submissively in the face of my heartless family. Instead, I confront them directly and refuse to indulge anyone any longer. This time, no one can stop me from living a good life. As the flashing lights flickered before my eyes and the sound of camera shutters clicking echoed in my ears, two familiar yet unfamiliar faces appeared before me. My biological parents, the well-known local tycoons. The elegantly dressed woman pulled me into her embrace. My daughter, I've finally found you. A man who bore some resemblance to me stood behind her, his gaze gentle and kind as he looked at me. In my previous life, I was being interviewed by the media when the two of them publicly claimed me as their own right in front of the cameras, catching me completely off guard. Even the interview about being the top scorer in the high school entrance exam turned into a wealthy family's reunion spectacle. Back then, I was inarticulate and timid, too afraid to refuse or express my own thoughts. In a daze, I followed them home, never imagining I was stepping onto a path of no return. Adopted Qing Yuding, fearing I would steal our parents' affection, actually teamed up with my own biological brother, Qing Yuhao, to target me. At home, I was framed by the two of them as dishonest and impure in heart, while at school, I was bullied by accomplices they had brought in. Yet, despite my desperate explanations and pleas for help, my own biological parents refused to believe a word I said. In the end, after I accidentally uncovered Qing Yuding and Qing Yuhao's disgraceful secret, they silenced me for good, leaving me dead and without a proper burial. Afterwards, the two of them even deceived our parents, claiming that I had taken the family's money and fled abroad, causing my parents to completely sever ties with me. Now, as I looked at my parents who had come to find me, I directly refused their intention to take me away in front of the media. Present, I'm sorry, my only family is my late grandfather, I have no relatives left. Hearing me say this, the media's cameras all turned toward me in unison. My mother, tears streaming down her face, tightly gripped my hand and refused to let go. Why, I am your mother, why won't you acknowledge me? Do you know how long I've been searching for you, back when you were stolen from the hospital? Do you know how anxious your mother was? She hasn't had a single peaceful night's sleep all these years. I forcefully pulled my hand back. You're wealthy people, big tycoons, it should have been easy for you to find me, right? Why did you only show up now, just when I ranked first in the city in the high school entrance exams? My father stepped forward. We really did search for you for many years, it was only recently that we got news about you. I looked at the successful figures before me. Didn't you adopt a daughter? Why come looking for me now? Is it because you see how well I'm doing in school and think I can bring you honor, so you want to acknowledge me? Since you claim to have been searching for me all these years, why have I never seen any missing person notices about me in the newspapers or on TV? I pointed to the 3 tear-shaped moles lined up at the corner of my eye. With such a distinctive birthmark, was I really that hard to find? The media, catching wind of the story, swarmed in, thrusting microphones in the faces of the wealthy couple. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Cheng, could you please talk about how you and your husband have been searching for your daughter all these years? In the end, I still went home with them. After all, in this world, everything is fake except for money. You can afford to be at odds with anyone, but never with money. However, unlike in my previous life, where they had forcefully arranged everything for me, this time I took the initiative in front of the media. As a result, the two of them no longer acted as domineeringly toward me as they had before. Instead, they became more cautious and careful around me. In the villa, my biological mother, Zhao Rou, warmly introduced Cheng Yuding to me. Pan, this is Yuding, your older sister. Looking at Cheng Yuding, who hypocritically extended her hand toward me, I turned to Zhao Rou and asked, is this the child you adopted to replace me? The air in the room congealed into a massive, suffocating cloud of awkwardness, enveloping everyone present. I turned to my biological father, Cheng Kai. Introductions aren't necessary. The only reason I agreed to come back with you is because you promised to provide me with a better learning environment. If you can't deliver on that, I have no interest in staying in this house. After more than a decade apart, I can't just open my heart to you. I'll try to accept you, but I can't force myself to act out some heartwarming scene of a loving father and a devoted child. So, whether you adopted a person or a dog, how many people or how many dogs, I really don't care. The Cheng family is a prominent household in the area, and with the media already laying the groundwork, they dare not kick me out of this home, no matter how much they dislike me, to prevent any public backlash, because they are well aware of the influence and power of public opinion, especially since I had previously showcased an outstanding image on television. Hearing me say this, the two of them clearly showed signs of anger on their faces, while Cheng Yuding seized the opportunity to feign fragility, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Cheng Yuhao, a hot-tempered second-generation heir, exploded on the spot as soon as he heard this. What the hell do you think you are? How dare you insult my sister? Think you're so great just because you get good grades? Someone like you will probably end up working in some nightclub in the future. Who are you trying to act all high and mighty for? Believe me, I could have a few buddies take turns with you and still not see a day in jail. Stay if you want, or get the hell out if you don't. A lowlife like you really thinks she's something special. My gaze fell on my biological parents. Is this the upbringing of the upper class? Is this the dear brother you told me about? Do all you upper-class people speak with such rustic simplicity? My biological father was so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged, and he slapped Cheng Yuhao hard across the face, leaving him stunned. Dad, you actually hit me. You hit me for some stray of unknown origin. I crossed my arms and looked at him. You and I are twins. If I'm a stray, then what are you? A freebie that came with the stray? Or perhaps, I turned my gaze back to my biological mother. Are you implying something with those sharp words of yours? Hearing this, my biological mother stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. I'll teach you to spew such filth. Cheng Yuding, tears streaming down her face, stood protectively in front of Cheng Yuhao. Mom, Dad, please stop fighting. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have taken over my sister's life for so many years. Everything is my mistake. If you want to hit someone, hit me instead. Seeing her cry so hard she could barely catch her breath, I took a step forward and stood before her. I heard that when they adopted you back then, they even held a grand adoption ceremony. It was quite the spectacle, and the media even reported that you had a congenital heart condition, although it was treated later. You still shouldn't get too emotionally worked up, you know perfectly well you're not in good health, yet you deliberately cry so hysterically. Are you trying to intimidate me by sacrificing 800 to kill 1,000, or do you want to show me that your position in this family is unshakable? Under the suspicious gazes of her biological parents, she quickly stifled her sobs and waved her hands frantically. No, no, no. I never thought that, Mom, Dad, don't listen to her nonsense, see. This is the kind of family they are, not only lacking in principles but also easily swayed. In my previous life, the moment I stepped into this house, I was met with sarcastic jabs from this sister and brother. I didn't even get a chance to defend myself, not only failing to establish a foothold but also leaving a bad impression on my biological parents. Now in this second life, I directly confronted the two of them with such force that they were left speechless, which instead won my parents' favor. I didn't want to keep arguing with these two, so I turned to my birth mother and asked, I'm tired, where's my room? My room was the same as in my previous life, arranged on the first floor, converted from what used to be the nanny's room. I glanced at that small room, then turned and took my birth mother's arm, asking her to show me around the house. It was called a tour, but I didn't give her a chance to lead the way. Instead, I pulled her upstairs and headed straight for Ching Yuding's room. Looking at Ching Yuding's room with its private bathroom and spacious walk-in closet, I sneered and pushed open the door to the guest room next to hers. My biological mother looked awkward, her eyes somewhat evasive. Pan, your sister has poor health and sleeps lightly, so this guest room is usually kept empty to avoid any noise disturbing her. I stared straight into her eyes until she turned her head away. Then I expressed my understanding. It's fine, this is much better than my old home. I must have accumulated blessings over several lifetimes to be reborn into such a family. I patted her arm. I'm here to study, not to enjoy myself. I won't be living here for many years anyway, so you don't need to blame yourself too much. Though the palm and the back of the hand are both flesh, the back of the hand is never as precious as the palm, don't you think? Hearing this, she nearly burst into tears with guilt and quickly changed the subject. Well, Pan, what was the place you used to live in like? Can you tell me about it? I was picked out of a trash can by my grandpa. His family died in a car accident, leaving him all alone. Originally, he had planned to buy a bottle of pesticide to go find his family, but as he passed by the bus station, he heard crying from a trash can and ended up picking me up. Grandpa said meeting me was fate, that my crying made him not want to die anymore. My family was very poor. Grandpa usually made a living by collecting scrap, and by the time I was 2 years old, I was already accompanying him out to collect bottles. We didn't have running water at home. There was a hand pump in the yard, and we usually couldn't afford to use electricity. Candles were 3 cents each, much cheaper than electricity. I forced down the immense sorrow in my heart and continued with a calm expression. Grandpa passed away at the beginning of the year. He left me 300 yuan, which helped me make it through the middle school entrance exams. If you hadn't taken me in, I'd still be worrying about how to cover the tuition and living expenses for the 3 years of high school. I smiled at my biological mother and said, don't you think I'm the luckiest person in the world? Xiao Rou could no longer hold back her tears. She hugged me tightly, crying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, my child, you've suffered so much. Watching her pour out her genuine emotions just like in my previous life, I couldn't help but feel a bit annoyed. I don't blame you, but instead of crying, could you let me have a bite to eat first? I usually only eat 2 meals a day, and I'm really quite hungry right now. She quickly wiped away her tears and rushed into the kitchen, scrambling to cook. How ridiculous. I was practically starving, and she clearly had no idea how to cook at all. Yet, just to showcase her motherly love, she shooed the nanny aside and insisted on cooking for me herself. Seeing her at a loss in the kitchen, I simply pushed her out, boiled some water, and cooked a bag of noodles. As expected of someone wealthy, even the dried noodles came in a high-end gift box. For an ordinary bowl of mixed soup noodles, I made 2 large bowls and handed one to her. Watching me devour the food from a large bowl, she couldn't hold back any longer. Pan, you're a girl, you should stand with poise, sit with grace, and pay attention to your manners when eating. I simply took her words as nonsense, nodding while wolfing down my food. I'll definitely be more careful next time. Grandpa's family is poor, we can't afford this kind of meal at all on a regular basis, only during holidays or special occasions. Hearing this, Xiao Rou felt even more guilty. her tears flowing freely enough to fill half a bowl. Throughout the entire summer vacation, I shut myself in my room studying high school courses. This formed a stark contrast to Qing Yuding and Qing Yuhao, who spent their days out having fun and squandering money, which also made Qing Kai and Zhao Rou look at me with increasing favor. Qing Yuding and Qing Yuhao were, after all, still childlike at heart. Once they started playing, they forgot everything else, which allowed me to quietly immerse myself in my studies. No one likes to work hard, but society only cares about results. What I need to do now is bury my head in the vulgar battle of improving my future social status. So I must strive. Just before school started, my biological parents suddenly came to find me. Just as I thought, they suggested I give up the city's key high school to attend an ordinary high school with these two little slackers. They naively believe that as long as I study hard, I can definitely motivate the two academic underachievers. Moreover, getting the two of them into a key high school would cost a fortune, while sending me to an ordinary high school wouldn't cost a single penny. Truly profit-driven merchants, their fingers are practically stuck in the calculator. In front of the whole family, I decisively refused. Impossible. My words were so blunt that my biological parents' faces couldn't help but show a hint of embarrassment. It was Zhao Rou who spoke first. Pan, Mom believes you can achieve good results even at an ordinary high school. Besides, I've looked into that school, and its college admission rate is quite impressive. Won't you reconsider? She really had the nerve to say such a thing. In my previous life, their first impression of me was so poor that they weren't this polite at all. They simply ordered me to attend this ordinary high school, giving me no choice whatsoever. As it turned out, that high school not only had abysmal teaching resources, but its academic atmosphere and learning pace were simply incomparable to those of a key high school. Even by the start of the second semester of my sophomore year, the curriculum for the junior year hadn't been completed. It was a complete waste of students' potential, so I refused with equal firmness. I told you, I only agreed to come home with you because you promised to let me focus on my studies. What right do you have to take away my chance to attend a top-tier school? My biological father, Qing Kai, grew somewhat impatient. We're just asking for your opinion now. There's no need for such strong resistance. My opinion is that I disagree. Sending the city's top student to an ordinary high school, aren't you afraid of becoming a laughingstock? Besides, I glanced at the two carefree individuals standing nearby. With them acting like this, what kind of motivation do you expect me to inspire in them? All they do is play all summer long, not a single word of studying. What kind of self-discipline do you expect from the two of them? If they really end up at a regular high school, will they hold me back, or will I be the one to lift them up? Are tutoring prices really that high these days? Can't our family afford cram school? Or is it that you simply don't want me to do well and get into a good university? Can't stand the thought of this child who came home halfway through actually making you proud. Qing Yuhao was not pleased to hear this. Gu Pan, what the hell do you mean by that? So it's just me and my sister who brings shame to our parents, and you're the only one who brings honor to the family. Let me tell you, don't pretend to be all enthusiastic over there. It's useless. My family has plenty of money. I can spend it however I want, even if I fail every exam. My parents can support me and my sister for life. Stay out of it. He shot me a sidelong glance and snorted coldly. A country bumpkin who can't even afford tap water, serves that old fool right for being dragged down by you. You should be out on the streets begging, freezing to death under a bridge. I felt something in my mind snap with a sharp crack. The belief that had long sustained me was like a stalk of straw broken by a farmer's wife to light the stove. Tossed into the flames. When I regained my senses, I saw Qing Yuhao lying on the floor, his face filled with terror, blood gushing wildly from his nose. My raised arm was tightly held back by Qing Kai and Zhao Rou, and in my hand, I still clutched the massive glass ashtray from the coffee table. Qing Yuding was terrified, hiding far away. Cold sweat instantly soaked my back. I had almost beaten Qing Yuhao to death just now. The ashtray was snatched away by Qing Kai, and Zhao Rou trembled all over as she hugged me, crying and apologizing. I pushed her away firmly, looking at Qing Yuhao lying on the ground. So you two are the real siblings? I glared coldly at my biological parents. Why did you even bring me back in the first place? In this family, I'm nothing but a fucking outsider. Qing Yuhao, you don't need to be so wary of me. I'll leave once I get into university. I won't compete with you for the family fortune. Everything in this house belongs to you all. I don't care for any of it. You're right, I don't deserve to be considered part of your Qing family. My surname is Gu. With that, I turned and walked back to my room, leaving them with a silhouette that seemed drained of all spirit outside the door. Qing Kai's furious questioning echoed, "You idiot, what did you say to your sister?" "I didn't say anything. I get annoyed just seeing her. What could I possibly have to say to her? What I said wasn't wrong. She shouldn't have come back. She should have died out there, if she hadn't come back. My sister wouldn't be so upset. It's all your fault." Slap, after a resounding slap, the living room fell silent once more. On the second day of the new semester, I was taken away by the police station. During a fight, I had torn off a piece of scalp from one of the girls previously, because I refused to attend an ordinary high school. My parents had sponsored a large sum of money to the school, allowing the two idiots, Qing Yuding and Qing Yuhao, to enter the key high school as auditors. I really don't understand why they insist on forcing the three of us together in such a pathological way. I got my wish and entered the advanced class, but I never expected that during the next day's break, I would be cornered by three senior high school girls at the stairwell, demanding protection money. Naturally, I refused, and that's when the argument started. Having died once, there's nothing I wouldn't do. When I fought back, I naturally didn't hold back at all. As a result, one of the long-haired girls had a piece of her scalp torn off by me. When something like this happened, the school naturally didn't dare to hide it. They immediately reported it to the police and notified both sets of parents. At the police station, Qing Yuhao stood in the hallway with his hands on his hips, pointing at my nose and cursing loudly. "Didn't you say you'd make our parents proud? Is this how you make them proud? You're nothing but a troublemaker. If I'd known you were this unruly, I never would have brought you back in the first place. If you dare to disfigure someone today, you'll dare to kill their whole family tomorrow." Qing Yuding's eyes couldn't hide her glee. "Sister, Mom and Dad had such high hopes for you. How could you do something like this? What are we going to do now? If the other party doesn't forgive you, you could be sentenced to prison." Her gaze fell on her parents. "How about we compensate them with some money? If my sister really ends up in jail, it would really delay her college entrance exams." My biological father looked at me with disappointment in his eyes. "You too, how can you have such a bad temper? If they scold you, they scold you. Getting hit a couple of times won't take a piece of your flesh. Why did you have to go so far?" I gave him a cold sidelong glance. "They demanded money from me, called me a slut and a bitch, grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the wall. Was I supposed to just endure it? Was I supposed to play the coward and let them bully me?" Qing Yuding frowned and scolded me. "Sister, this is your fault. You should think carefully about whether you've done something wrong yourself. Why do they only bully you and not others? It must be you. Ah, how dare you hit me?" I didn't give her a chance to finish her sentence. I went straight up and slapped her across the face. The crisp sound of the slap echoed especially loudly in the corridor of the police station. "Why do I only hit you and not others? You really should think carefully about whether you've done something wrong yourself." Qing Yuhao wanted to rush forward to hit me, but was held back by Qing Kai. "Gu Pan Pan, how dare you hit your sister right in front of me? You are far too insolent." Qing Yuding huddled in Zhao Rou's arms, transforming into a whimpering creature, wiping away tears while pretending to be pitiful, which made Zhao Rou's heart ache. She looked at me with a strong sense of reproach. "She is your sister. How could you treat her like this? Apologize to your sister right now." I met her gaze and glared back. "What do I have to apologize for? She just said it herself. She should look for reasons within herself and not always blame others." Qing Kai was furious, pointing at me. He said to the police officer beside him, "Officer, handle this matter as it should be handled. If a child like this isn't properly disciplined, she won't know her place. Officer, rest assured, even though she is my daughter, I will not show any favoritism." The police officer nodded and looked at the enraged second fool of the Qing family, who was standing nearby. "You're Qing Yuhao, right?" The named Qing Yuhao was taken aback. "Yes, I am Qing Yuhao." The police officer beckoned him with a finger. "Come with me for a moment. I have some questions for you." The three girls who bullied me, the police found a switchblade in one of their pockets, and another girl's statement clearly stated that their purpose in stopping me was to teach me a lesson. This changed the nature of the situation entirely. Although that girl vehemently argued that the knife wasn't hers and she had never seen it before, she couldn't explain how it ended up in her school uniform pocket. In my previous life, I attended an ordinary high school, and bullying against me was almost a daily occurrence, but I never expected that, just 2 days into the new semester, Qing Yuding and Qing Yuhao would already be so impatient. The same despicable methods, the same vile actions. The only thing that changed was that the victim of the bullying dared to fight back this time. That girl was actually innocent. The switchblade wasn't hers at all. I slipped it into her pocket during the chaos of the fight. Similarly, I deliberately tore off that girl's scalp with force, all to escalate the situation. A minor reprimand and a few days of psychological counseling would be utterly useless. Only by making this incident impossible to sweep under the rug could we lure the big fish lurking beneath the surface. High school girls had never seen such a scene before. The police broke through their psychological defenses with just a few words, and they ended up crying and confessing everything, which naturally included the fact that Qing Yuhao had paid them to come and cause trouble for me. My biological parents were completely dumbfounded. They had thought I was the troublesome one, but now the tables had turned. Their precious son was the one causing them the most worry. Qing Yuding shook her head desperately. It's impossible. Yuhao is usually so well-behaved and sensible. This isn't something he could do. You must have made a mistake. My skeptical gaze swept over her. He couldn't do it. Then it must have been you. She didn't expect me to say that and was startled, forcing down the trembling in her body. Don't talk nonsense. I would never do such a thing. It's no wonder she's afraid. After all, she's just an adopted daughter. Not like Qing Yuhao, the biological son, who enjoys such leniency. For the same kind of wrongdoing, Qing Yuhao can act with impunity, but she can't do as she pleases. She glared at me through gritted teeth. It must be you who bribed those girls. You made them say that. Yes, it must be you. Me. I bribed them to grab my head and slam it against the wall. I bribed them and then tore off their scalps. Qing Yuding, don't be absurd. I pulled out the lining of my pocket. Look, I don't have a single cent on me. What could I possibly use to bribe anyone? I even had to borrow money from a classmate to eat lunch in the cafeteria. If I had that kind of money, wouldn't it be better to add an extra meat dish to improve my life? I'm not like the two of you, with tens of thousands in pocket money every month. My biological parents only then remembered that since I, their biological daughter, had returned home, they had never given me even a single cent. Because I ate and lived at home and never asked them for money, they naturally assumed I didn't need any at all. My biological father looked somewhat awkward. Pan, it was Dad's oversight. I forgot to give you an allowance. This time, he put on a smile, though it looked rather forced no matter how you looked at it. Dad will go back and get you a card. Don't be angry with Dad. I'll definitely make it up to you. I made no comment, watching Qing Yuhao standing silently in the corner and Qing Yuding, her face full of tension, since he was willing to take the blame for his fake sister, then let him carry it. There was really no need for me to expose him. I turned to look at my biological father. Just now, you told the police that you would never show favoritism. I hope you can keep your word and not let me down. In the end, Qing Yuhao walked out of the police station safely, because I signed the mediation agreement. The price was 3 million, which had to be transferred on the spot. I wouldn't sign until I saw the money. My biological father muttered under his breath about how a girl shouldn't be so materialistic. While his hands swiftly transferred the 3 million into my account, he was terrified I wouldn't sign the mediation agreement and leave a criminal record for his precious son. Seeing that I had signed, Xiao Rou cautiously asked me, Pan, what do you need so much money for? It's not a good thing for a girl to carry so much money in her pocket. I calmly met her gaze. Because you have no real feelings for me. What you care about is only my grades, only whether I can bring you honor. Today, your son can spend money to have me bullied. Who knows if one day you might just kick me out of the house. If I don't take this chance to ask you for some money, how will I secure my future? She waved her hands repeatedly. No, you're my daughter. How could I ever abandon you? Looking at her face, I seemed to see the same expression she wore in my past life, sighing with disappointment. If only Tingting were my real daughter. You have truly disappointed me. If I had known you would turn out like this, I should never have given birth to you in the first place. Ah, what a sin. I turned and walked away. Who can say what the future holds? I took a few days off from school and returned to my grandfather's house in the countryside. The two of them didn't trust me to go alone, so they insisted on driving me there, and so, they saw the dilapidated house, the collapsed walls, the hard earthen bed, the rusty hand pump, and the single wire connecting the light bulb. They never imagined that my previous life had been so harsh. The two of them stood helplessly in the middle of the rundown yard, watching me clear away the weeds. I hired a few strong laborers to dig up my grandfather's grave and carefully collected his remains into a newly purchased urn. Memories from 2 lifetimes merged into one. Pan, when you get into university and make a fortune in the future, your grandpa will finally live a life of ease. A fine drizzle fell from the sky. vanishing without a trace as it touched the ground. I knelt on the ground, clutching my grandfather's ashes, and for the first time since my rebirth, I broke down and wept uncontrollably. I bought the best plot in the city cemetery and personally placed my grandfather's urn inside. I arranged several meat dishes neatly before the tomb, placing a greasy roasted chicken leg right in the center. Back then, I was only 7 years old, and with the money I earned from selling bottles for several days, I bought a chicken leg for my grandfather as a birthday gift. I never knew my grandfather's birthday. He always said old people don't celebrate birthdays, so that chicken leg was the only thing I ever offered him as a token of filial respect. He took a small bite, then smiled and placed the chicken leg in my bowl. It's delicious. Grandpa's teeth aren't good, so you finish it for me. Grandpa gently patted my head. When our Pan makes a lot of money in the future, she'll buy chicken legs for Grandpa every day, but he would never get to eat the chicken leg his granddaughter bought for him. I poured a cup of baijiu over his tombstone and lit a cigarette, shielding it from the wind. I tried several times but couldn't get it lit. My biological father walked over, wanting to help me light it, but I turned away, declining his offer. I took a deep drag from the lit cigarette and choked so hard it felt like I coughed up half a lung. The lit cigarette was placed in the incense burner, and I knelt before the tombstone, bowing my head 3 times with a heavy thud. Behind me came the soft sobs of my mother. I didn't cry anymore. I didn't want my tears to disturb my grandfather's peace. After returning from the cemetery, I rented a small apartment near the school and moved out. The environment in the school's shared dormitory isn't great, and I'm worried others might affect my studies. On moving day, my biological parents tried to persuade me to stay. There's room for you at home, and we even have a driver who can take you to school. Why do you insist on moving out? My gaze lingered on the small bedroom that had been converted from the maid's room. Moving out is better for everyone. After all, you're the real family. It's best if I, an outsider, don't stay here and cause any trouble. In the days that followed, I buried myself in books and began to study diligently. As long as it doesn't kill me, I'll study until I drop. On my actual birthday, I posted a moment on my social media: a small cake, a 3-cent candle, 2 greasy fried chicken drumsticks, and next to them, a thick stack of exam papers. Caption: my first real birthday, wishing myself a happy birthday, and may Grandpa rest in peace in heaven. At the same moment, my biological parents threw a grand birthday party to celebrate Cheng Yuding and Cheng Yuhao's birthdays. At the party, Cheng Yuding stood before a 6-tier cake tower, closed her eyes, and made a wish: I want to be with Mom, Dad, and my brother forever. Our family will never be apart. The next day, photos of me celebrating my birthday alone and the video of Cheng Yuding making a wish in front of the cake tower were posted online. Although it didn't make it to the trending topics, this incident still sparked a wave of discussion online. Which one is the biological child, and which one is the adopted one? Aren't wealthy people supposed to value blood ties the most? Why does the biological daughter seem like she's been exiled? These parents are truly bizarre. Their own daughter is left lonely and neglected, while they throw a lavish birthday celebration for the adopted one. I heard before that the Cheng family's young master spent money to hire people to bully his own biological sister, all to vent his anger for his fake sister. It's their own family matter. We shouldn't meddle in other people's business. Who knows, maybe the biological daughter did something shameful and got kicked out. Upstairs is just a pure troublemaker. Don't go crazy here. The incident fermented online all morning before my biological parents finally remembered they had a biological daughter like me. My biological father hastily posted a statement online, using the company's official account to make it appear more convincing. Originally, the matter wasn't that significant, but once this statement, which only served to cover things up, was released, netizens refused to accept it. The online backlash was overwhelming, and the company ended up being boycotted across the entire internet. Seeing the public opinion turning against them, my biological parents finally knocked on the apartment door. Pan, why did you have to post that update? Look at what you've done. Your sister is now too afraid to show her face outside, terrified of being judged. You forgot my birthday and threw a party for that imposter instead. Is all of this really my fault? As I stared at them, my biological father turned his head away. In any case, you acted without thinking. You need to delete that post from your social media right now. The day after tomorrow, our family will have a meal together at the hotel. Take a photo and repost it online, saying you had a disagreement with the family that day and apologize to everyone on the internet. Why should I apologize? Shouldn't it be you who should apologize? I completely lost my composure and loudly questioned them. Have you ever truly treated me as your own daughter? Isn't my birthday the same day as Qing Yuhao's? You never cared about me in the first place, so why should I pay for your mistakes, just because I wasn't raised by you since childhood? Does that mean I deserve to die? Tears welled up in my eyes, and I could no longer control my emotions. Do you know what I wished for on my birthday? The two of them immediately looked at me with hopeful expressions. I hope my future will be safe and smooth, free from wasted years. I stared coldly at the two people before me. But that has nothing to do with you anymore. In the second semester of her senior year of high school, Qing Yuting secured a recommendation for admission. During the winter break, she published an article in a literary journal titled, "On the Impact of AI Writing on the Future." Thanks to this article, a prestigious domestic university extended an olive branch to her. She had barely ever passed the major essay sections of her exams, and her performance in the humanities couldn't even be described as poor, but my parents turned a deaf ear to this and once again held her in the palm of their hands, giving me the cold shoulder for the entire holiday. Fuming, I confronted her and demanded an explanation, but she looked down her nose at me, saying, "What are you talking about? I don't understand a word of it. That article was typed out word by word through my own hard work, filled with my heart and soul. How can you dismiss all my efforts with just one sentence? If you say that article was written by you, then show me the proof." She smiled slyly, her words sounding noble and righteous. But her fingers were typing rapidly on her phone. She shoved the phone screen right in my face. "Don't even think about it. I won't give you a chance to record anything. Let me tell you, Mom and Dad can only love me the most. You should have just stayed dead outside and never come back. What's wrong with stealing your essay? I stole it, so what can you do about it? I am the only daughter in this family. If you know what's good for you, you'd better get out of here right now." I went to argue with my biological parents, and as expected, both of them advised me to be more forgiving. Pan, you have good grades, you'll definitely get into a good university in the future, but your sister isn't cut out for studying. It's not easy for her to get this recommendation opportunity, so just let her have it. My biological father, Cheng Kai, shamelessly suggested, "Your brother will also have a big problem with college entrance exams in the future. You'd better write another paper so he can get a recommendation too. That would be perfect." I was completely disappointed in them, so, at the celebration banquet my parents held for Qing Yuting, I publicly played the surveillance footage from my room on the big screen. In the video, Qing Yuting and Qing Yuhao sneakily entered my room, with Qing Yuhao standing guard at the door while Qing Yuting quietly opened my computer. Which file did she mention? The one related to AI writing, on the impact of AI writing on the future. Yes, that's the one. I heard that bitch say on the phone that the article has a high chance of winning an award. Qing Yuting excitedly pulled the USB drive from the computer. "All right, I've copied it. Hurry up and turn off the computer. Don't leave any evidence behind. Don't worry." Qing Yuhao's malicious voice rang out. "How can a bastard like her compare to you?" With that, the two of them actually embraced each other and began kissing passionately right in my room. My biological father, Qing Kai, watched the two in the video, his face ashen and veins throbbing on his forehead. He slapped me hard across the face. "You wretch, you just can't stand to see your sister doing well. You've completely disgraced this family." Amidst the uproar from the crowd, the police pushed the door open and entered. Once again, in the corridor of the same police station, two people sat across from me, their voices sharp with accusation. "My dad, I've wasted all these years raising you, you ungrateful wretch. How could you do such a thing? I no longer have a daughter like you." "My mom, how can you be so heartless? How will they ever be able to show their faces in public after what you've done?" Biological father Qing Kai commanded with a fierce tone. "No matter what, you withdraw the case first. I'll deal with you when I get home." I shook my head, covering my flushed cheek from his slap, and stared straight at him. "Say it again. Who exactly has brought shame to this family?" Zhao Ro was so angry she could hardly speak, wiping away her tears as she scolded me. "They are, after all, your sister and brother. How could you push them into a pit of fire? How could you do such a low and despicable thing? So in your view, it's fine for the two siblings to commit such immoral and filthy acts, and it's also fine for them to steal my work, but it's a problem when I expose the truth. Is that how I should understand it? They were wrong, but we should have settled it behind closed doors. Now you've made it public knowledge. You clearly never considered us family." I shot to my feet. "Did you ever consider me family? That article was clearly written by me. I even showed it to you while I was writing it. Now you're pretending to be clueless. You didn't stand up for me back then, so why should I protect those who hurt me now? I wrote that article during winter break, and I made sure Zhao Rou, who came to my room to deliver milk, saw the title. I even confidently assured her that the article would definitely be published in a literary journal, asking her to keep it a secret for me. I set this trap just to test her. If she truly loved me as her daughter, she would keep my secret and share in the joy of my success when the time came. Unfortunately, from the very beginning, I was never her firmest choice, whether it was weighing the pros and cons or simply giving in to selfish motives. In the end, she chose Qing Yuding, not me. In this battle over family ties, there was no final victor, only mutual destruction and shared ruin. I refused to settle and sued both of them. Qing Yuding and Qing Yuhao, the ill-fated, forbidden lovers, were ultimately sentenced to 3 years and 5 years in prison, respectively, for theft and copyright infringement. On the day of the verdict in the courtroom, their family acted as if they were facing a life-and-death separation, drawing involuntary glances from those around, but most of those glances were filled with contempt, with only a few brimming with mockery. Watching the 4 of them cry their hearts out, I stood up and left my seat. I reclaimed the guaranteed admission spot that rightfully belonged to me. As the start of school approached, I packed my bags and prepared to head to campus for registration. In front of the station, I ran into my biological parents, who had come to see me off. In just a few short months, the 2 of them had grown haggard, their hair now streaked with white, as if they had aged more than a decade. Because of this scandal, their own flesh and blood had been thrown behind bars, and I, their daughter, had severed all ties with them. Qing Kai had no time to attend to the company, and business partners had also suspended their cooperation with the firm because of this matter. The Qing family's company was on the verge of collapse, teetering on the brink of bankruptcy and restructuring. Seeing me carrying a simple bag, Zhao Rou's tears fell in streams. Pan Pan, Mom and Dad are sorry for you. Can you forgive us? Your sister and brother know they were wrong too. After all, blood is thicker than water. Could you, for the sake of family ties, stop blaming us? Looking at the white hair on her head, I gently pulled her into my embrace. She held me tightly, only to hear the icy words I whispered into her ear. To hell with your family. You're surnamed Sheng, I'm surnamed Gu. I have nothing to do with you. With that, I patted her stiff back, picked up my backpack, and walked toward the ticket gate without looking back. From now on, Gu Panpan is going to start a brand new life of her own. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.